this film deals a lot with grief. And my question is for both of you. Can you talk about how working through the process of grief within this film, highlighting the moments of the importance of it and how this family helps to not trigger it, but more of, well, gets her through it in a way?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I think that, I think that was one of the things that drew me to the film, that it wasn't just, oh, slasher for slasher. Like, there's actually some layers, to these characters, and that they're all dealing with grief and trauma in some way, particularly Layla, particularly Zuri, and particularly what is Anna's character's name? Oh my gosh, I can't even think of it.
Imani.
Thank you. Imani is dealing with trauma as well. And so like, that's what was we're able to kind of hide the ball a little bit about what's really going on, about all the masks that people are wearing, all the trauma that they're dealing with. And I think that that's something that it fuels character, fuels with people's decisions, in many different ways throughout the entirety of the film. So I'm glad that you noticed that, and something that we really wanted to work on, and we certainly, I know I talked about it with all the cast, particularly with Chloe, about how what might inform your character.
Hmm.
Please expound upon that if you
Of
like.
course, I would love to. I think trauma definitely shapes who we are and what we become. And we might not realize it until it's too late, or we are placed in situations where we're in a fight or flight mode. And I feel that Layla used her music as a distraction from grieving her sister. And she was throwing herself in her work. And it was to the point where it wasn't very healthy, where Coco, as you see in the film, she's like, come on, girl, like, let's try to have some fun. Instead of making it too serious or like she was forcing her to anything, she's like, let's have some fun, find a man, that's how we're going to get you out of this. But I think what's important to learn is that any external devices or vices won't pull us out of the trauma. It all is internal work. And I feel like living in this house, Layla is forced to work through her problems and her grief of her younger sister because she meets the incredible little girl played by Romy, and she realizes how much she reminds her of her little sister. She, even with her allergic reaction, it reminds her of her sister's asthma attack, which was the way that she passed. And because she doesn't want to lose someone who is like her sister again, in turn lose her sister again, she keeps herself in a very dangerous position so that she could protect this little girl, which she couldn't do with her younger sister.
Well said, Chloe.
Thank you very much.
Well
Thank
said indeed. Thank you
you.
both. Question is for Chloe. We talked about masks and that she wears her music as a mask, really. So for Layla, who is she without her music?
I think Layla doesn't know who she is without her music. I think that's why she gets so easily swept up in this whirlwind and this family, because when you don't stand for anything, you fall for everything. And that's exactly what she did. I definitely think through her connection with Zuri, she slowly starts to find herself again. But I think by the end of the movie, she still really doesn't have a full grasp on it yet, to be honest.
But I think it's so funny. My editor, when we were working on the movie, he was saying like, I was like, because I was like, God, is this movie working? You're never sure until you put it in front of an audience, and then like what you're working on and stuff. And he was like, this is a coming of age story, man. Like in a lot of ways. And I think that is true. I mean, I think Layla is trying to figure it out, trying to figure out who she is. I don't know that she made some questionable choices, but who doesn't make questionable choices as a young person, right? Like, we don't have it all figured out, right away. We have to go through some things in order to like figure out what's right and what's wrong and our moral compass. And particularly, she's dealing with so much trauma, from the death of her sister that it's just like, how does she try to find her footing, right?